Well, there we are. Good afternoon. Good evening. What is it? 5:30 at night. Welcome, you guys. And I want to welcome Jake Williams and Corinne. What's your last name, Corinne? She's frozen.
Did we lose her?
Williams.
Oh, Williams. Okay. It's your picture's frozen, but she's there. Move your camera around just a little bit and we'll see what happens. You guys, tonight we're going to talk about a pretty serious topic. The Oregon State Penitentiary System is talking about, I think they are just going to get rid of death row. And there's currently 29 people sentenced to death in Oregon. 27 of them live on death row. You'll be surprised if you go online and look, you'll see many of them from this area, from Lane County. I was shocked to see all the different cases on there from that I had covered of people that are on there right now. Corinne Williams and Jake Williams, their brother Brandon was murdered by a man named Conan Hale back in 1995. Is that right, Jake?
Yeah, Conan Hale and Jonathan Sussbauer were involved.
So can you kind of tell people what happened? Just hits, runs, and airs. And Corinne, you can pop in there too. Your picture is frozen, but talk to me. I think your voice is there.
You can hear me?
Yep.
I'm going to pull her back up. Let's see. Check your camera, Corinne. I can hear you. I can't see you, but go ahead, Jake, and talk.
So yeah, it was 95. My brother and three of our friends actually were walking Crystal home, my brother's girlfriend home, and Conan and Jonathan had pulled up and offered to give them a ride. And the story goes that when they got in the car, they said that there was a party in the woods or something like that, asked them if they wanted to go. And so they drove them up to a log landing up McGowan Creek and beat them up with baseball bats. They raped Crystal and then shot all three of them.
And what they did, with your brother and who's the other young man who was killed?
Patrick Finley.
And your brother was 15. Patrick was 13.
13, yeah. And then Crystal was 15.
And they thought that they had killed him, but they didn't think that they'd really explain that.
Yeah, so initially they took him up on the log landing and beat him and did whatever. And they left him up there on the landing and drove down the mountain. And I guess they ran into another group of people while they were coming down the mountain. So one of them hid underneath the dash so that they couldn't be seen together. And then they conversated with these people for a little bit, and then when they left, they decided that they were going to drive back up and make sure that these people didn't find them. So they drove back up to the log landing where they had left them. And apparently my brother and Patrick both were sitting up, putting clothes on or something. And so when they seen the headlights, they laid back down to, not be seen or whatever. And they got out, and that's when they shot him again and killed him. So Patrick actually lived because this all happened, it was the 21st of December in 95. So Patrick actually lived, they put him on life support, and I believe he was at McKenzie Willamette, and he lived was on life support anyways until the 25th. And that's the day that they decided to pull the plug on him.
So you guys, just so the audience understands, so this isn't doing away with the death penalty. We still have capital punishment. We still have a death penalty in Oregon, although nobody's ever been put to death since, I think, what is it? I looked it up.
Sure, 95 or 96 was the last
97. I think it was 97. And so these people but they live on death row. So what the state's going to do is get rid of death row as a way of saving money, and many of those prisoners will then just go into the general population. So Corinne, you find out that they're no longer on death row and they're going to mix in with the general population. And what is your reaction?
I just feel, I don't know, it's kind of like a defeating type of feeling. Is I'm sure he's probably ecstatic and he's happy. He's going to be given all these privileges that he hasn't had in the last 20 some years. He's going to be able to hug his family or kiss his family or whoever it is that goes to see him.
Does it feel like for you guys at all? And you both have different ideas about this. And I know, I'm sure every parent and person and family member and all those folks out there are going to feel differently. I talked with this lone survivor from the Dairy Mart murders today, and she was going to try to come on here, but couldn't. I think everybody has a different perspective. But for you, Corinne, does it feel like now your brother never really gets the justice that the courts said this is what's supposed to happen, and you feel like as a family member now you're even getting, at least you were in this, this kind of quarantined area, and now you're going to mix with the general population.
Right. Yeah. I feel so much better knowing he's locked in a cell 23 hours a day, not giving anything. And now I'm sure it's what they look forward to, being, general population. So yeah, I just feel like he's given privileges. He's being, I don't know, like accommodated. Everything has been because he's felt unjustly tried, and you've done so many things to accommodate him with all his appeals and everything.
So you guys, I want to really quickly go ahead. I'm sorry, Corinne.
I just feel like they're accommodating the inmates more than they are the victims. Or
I want to really quickly throw in just a little that we are sponsored, you guys, by Buck Sanitary Services. This show is called The Buck Stops Here, and Scott and Lisa Weld are the owners there, and they're really good about when they hear something like this and they know I need to get the word out. I just want people to know this is happening. And my whole thing is people deserve to have a voice no matter who it is. And you guys should have a voice in this whole thing. Oregon, I think people should, you of all people have an opinion on this, whether it's that you don't care. And Jake, you're not as concerned about it. Tell people what you're thinking.
So I think, this happened in 95, where, 2020, it's been 25 years. I think the justice system has failed us already. I mean, my brother was 15 years old when he was killed, 25 years later, we're still talking about this, and those guys are still alive. So I think that the justice system has failed us a long time ago. As far as what we're looking at now and them releasing him, I mean, I get why they're doing it. The state's short on funds, and we got to make cuts somewhere. And it sucks that we got to be pulled through the mud in order for all that to go on. But as far as them letting him out into the general populace, I think that being locked in a jail cell for 23 hours a day is pretty cush. I mean, it's hard to sit in a jail cell. I'm not going to deny that, but you're sitting in a jail cell for 23 hours a day by yourself. Everybody's feeding you, making sure you're healthy, giving you anything that you need and want. And now he's looking at being put in there with the general populace, and they don't like people that do stuff to kids. So I think that he just got pretty unlucky. I think that his life just got a whole lot harder. So if they're not gonna give him the death penalty, then let the other guys take care of him, I guess. I mean, I can't.
So just so people kind of know, Jake is like my tattoo artist and my friend. And we've talked about this before when we've done other things like that. And I hear both of you. And the thing that just kind of grates on me is I'm seeing Corinne over here and tears are just streaming down her face. It never ends for you guys. I mean, it's not like you live it every day, but it never goes. And then stuff like this keeps coming up, and then it just comes right back into your face. It's like a nightmare that won't go away.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
And I can't even, all I can see is you guys as little kids and going, what the hell was that? What just happened here? And I know Jake, Corinne, now are you the oldest?
No, I'm the youngest.
You're the baby. So you had the oldest, your older brother was killed, and then there's Jake and you guys, and so Jake's 13. You're at the time how old?
I was about 12.
About 12. How does somebody explain to a 13 and a 12-year-old that your brother was, especially, I mean, died in an accident would be hard enough, but that he was murdered by somebody, and it had to be super freaking scary. Because you're thinking we're getting out of here, we're getting done, and then also he comes back and you play dead to try to do this, and they shoot you in cold-blooded murder. What would you say if you could sit down with Conan Hale? And this is Facebook, so you can say whatever the hell you want. I don't have any. But do you still kind of, do you ask why? Do you still have that question, like, why did you?
Yeah, every day.
Yeah. I think that there's always going to be a why, you know. I mean, nobody deserves this, except for maybe them. But I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to it. I don't think that there's really any defining it for any reason. I think that, you know, people have mental problems, and our mental health care is not up to par. And you know, whether they're just sadistic and evil people, or you know, somebody that needs help, but there wasn't anything there to help them, or I don't know. It's a pretty big mess, I think.
So people are on here saying, so how do we change this? How do we help? And I'm not being negative, but do you kind of get to a point where you just go, you know what, this isn't going to change?
I think that's why I feel the way that I do. You know, I mean, from 13 years old, I mean, my whole world was taken out from underneath me, you know? So I think I let it control me mentally for a long time. So eventually I just got to a point where, you know, you just have to let go.
Right.
It's not, as much as I would like to let them, you know, give him to me and let me do justice. I mean, it'd be awesome, but I'm not God. I'm not the devil. I mean, it's not for me to say who lives or dies. And he's behind bars where, you know, hopefully it's not going to happen again. Hopefully he doesn't ever get let out. And I mean, what else can we do? I mean, like I said, I think our justice system failed us a long time ago. So.
Right. And you just don't even have any faith in it at all.
I wouldn't say that I don't have faith in it. I just, you know, when it comes to something like this, I mean, the reason nobody's been put to death since '97 is because of politics. It's a political race. It's a political agenda.
Is that kind of weird to you? Because in a state where voters have approved the death penalty,
look at the world that we live in right now. I mean, isn't that what we're always talking about? Is politics this and politics that? And, you know, everybody's on one side of the fence or the other, and somebody wants to argue their point. And I mean, that's why we aren't.
So, Corinne, tell me something really, really cool that you remember about Brandon, like something fun.
I could tell you so many stories. There, before he died, all three of us had lived in the same house for the first time since we were little kids.
Mm.
And I remember the day that he came home. He was standing outside in the rain, and he was given a big, huge yellow jacket. And I remember seeing, you know, that's just the first thing I see when I look outside the window is, you know, my brother's home, and he's got this huge, bright yellow jacket on. And I mean, I could still hear his laughter. He watched Beavis and Butthead all the time, and his laughter mimicked Butthead, so you can hear his laughter all the time.
So Jake, tell me something. What do you remember about your big brother?
Oh man. So obviously I was the little brother that was always tagging along with the older brother, and you know, all of our friends were, you know, older than me for sure. They were all his age or older. So, yeah, I was the little brother that was tagging along, getting beat up, and I had to go do all the dirty jobs, and luckily I never got caught for any of them.
He probably looked at you like, yeah, that little pain in the ass.
Oh yeah. I don't know how he was always in trouble, because he was always making me do everything for him.
So your mom almost came on tonight, and then she decided not to, right?
Yeah, I think she's having a pretty hard time with it.
She's the one who contacted me, which I thought was really bold of her. And it kind of says a lot about a mom, because you're a dad. And Corinne, do you have children?
No.
No, but you understand that kind of thing. And your mom is just like, you probably just, how do you get over? I don't think anybody can ever expect anybody to get over any of this. It's just be nice if we did, my parents used to say, do what you do, let your yes be yes and your no be no. And whether people agree with capital punishment or not, I'm not as big on it, but that's the law. And so it seems like for people like yourself, it's like, if we say as a state, this is the law, why do we let people change that and kind of give you a false, it's like saying you're convicted of this, and then we're not going to make you do anything about it.
I think that's where the pain of it comes in, really, is he was put in this position because of the things that he did, and now, whether they're giving him more leeway, if he's getting visitation from family and he's getting all the rights that everybody else gets, then absolutely, I don't think that's okay. I mean, he should be stripped of all of his rights as far as I'm concerned, and he shouldn't be allowed any privileges. And just because he's in with the general populace doesn't mean that any of those, rights should be given back to him or whatever. I don't know.
I talked to a few of my friends who have spent time in prison, and they said one of their concerns with this whole thing was that you're putting people who have nothing to lose, because they're going to be there the rest of their life, into the general population. So what if people that are serving, minor crimes, 2, 3, 4 years, get injured, hurt, murdered by these people who have nothing to lose? What do you got to lose? They're going to add another. In fact, I think one of the death row inmates, I'm not going to say which one, but I'm almost positive he actually killed somebody else in prison. So he's murdered somebody in prison. And so he's still there. What do they have to lose? So are we putting our general population of prisoners also in harm's way, because you're putting these very dangerous people into the general population?
Not only do they just
here 25 years later, still having the same conversation,
Right. Go ahead, Corinne.
And it's not just that they have nothing to lose, but they're sick individuals, and you're putting them with people who are not as sick as they are. They had no concern for the lives that they took. So why would they for any other inmate that's surrounding them?
Natalie, thank you. She says, Rick, you have some incredible points. It's because, you know what? I don't just jump on here for fun. I do my homework. I'm asking people, if people just got to know, I don't know. I kind of want to harp on something, but I probably just shouldn't. But it's so hard. It is so hard for me to look at the two of you, and I see two little kids going, I lost my brother and it's not coming back, and nothing ever seems to work. So I'm glad that you have a great outlook on your own life. And Jake, I know you more because, but I know you got kids, you're getting married, you got all this going on, Corinne. I'm sure you got wonderful things happening in your life. And I hope this doesn't, I would tell people, write and tell somebody, complain, but I honestly, in my heart, I don't think it does any good. I think what people in Oregon can do is reach out to all these different families. Go online and look up, if you guys want to have a good time, Jake and Corinne. So go online, and there's a site, I should have put it on here, but you can go on and you can find the pictures, new pictures of Conan, and they look horrible. so they're living. They're not living on the high life in there, because I saw the two guys who killed Fran Wall and the Dairy Mart killings. I had to go on and find them, Brumwell and Michael Hayward. And I went and looked at them and I went, oh my God. I called up Donna and I go, you got to go see what they look like, man. You're going to feel so much better about yourself. I know that seems really rude, doesn't it? Oh, well, whatever.
Hopefully they're all about to look a lot worse.
That's right. Yeah, I can guarantee you, prison life, the death row wasn't being very kind to them. So you might want to go look just to make yourself feel a little bit better. You guys, thank you so much for taking your time and coming on here and just kind of talking with people and letting them know. And again, I don't know. We want to thank Buck Sanitary Service at the Buck Stops here for sponsoring our show. So just so we can get this stuff out there, I don't know that there's anything people can really do, but just love you. And I think from the things I've been seeing on here, people are really, they're saying, I don't know if you're reading them, if you guys can see them, but people are really, their hearts go out to you. And I think that's what you guys should take away from this maybe, is that, you really are, you're part of the community, you're business people, people respect you. And I think the fact that you come out here and speak for your brother 25 years later, that says a lot about just who you are. And, don't you think he'd be proud that you guys do that? I mean, his little sister and his little brother are doing that for him. I think he'd be so happy. And that's how you keep him alive, his memory, don't you think? And for your mom, who's probably watching this, that's how you do it. And I hope that my family would do that for me, what you guys have just done for him. So I'm just glad I get to be a part of it. And I get to be a part of your life too, Jake. I love that because I love you. I know I love you too. And Corinne, since you're Jake's sister, I have to love you too. You're part of the family. Well, thank you both for being on here. You guys, I don't want to. You are so welcome. And tell them, Jake, really quick. Let's just whore it a little bit. You got a new shop, a new tattoo shop opening up in downtown Eugene, over by the 5th Street Public Market. And what's the name? Tell people the name.
So Subdermal Art Collective is the name.
And so if you guys need some work done, here's a guy with not only he's not only an amazing artist, but he also has a big heart. And so when he does your tattoos, as I can say, because that's mine, and I'm coming in for a second arm. Okay, man, I'm ready for number 2. Kathy said we can go for it, so we're going to do it. Corinne, what do you do for a living? What's your career?
I work in the healthcare.
Oh, geez, seriously?
Right now, I'm doing in-home care right now.
Is that hard with the COVID thing, with what's going on here?
So I recently left the hospital. I was working at one of the hospitals here in town, and I do in-home care now. So I only have one client, just one person that I take care of 5 days a week. But in the hospital, yeah, I would imagine it's super hard.
I was just there recently, obviously, and actually, it was I felt safer there than I do at the grocery store because I knew they had some protocol.
Corinne had to go through the test.
Did you?
The test. Oh, yeah. So I got really sick in March. I was sick for probably 2 weeks, and they tested me for COVID. It had came back negative, but I also heard that a lot of the negatives were coming up false.
So you came through it all right, obviously.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Good. All right, you two. Thank you for your time. Thanks for talking. Jake, get a hold of me when we're ready to go. Let's go ink that arm, man.
I'm gonna go check the mail right now.
Okay, all right. So you guys, again, thank you, Buck Sanitary Service. We couldn't do this without them because, as we've always told you in this community, the buck stops right here. All right. See you guys later. Have a good night.
Bye.
All right. Bye, Chris. Nice meeting you.
You too. Bye.
Okay, see you, hon.